Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 501. This is your guide to the geek side, and we are getting ready for Thanksgiving. I'm Todd Oxtra. I am off for the week, having a great time, being lazy, doing some last-minute yard work, and then it's Thanksgiving at the Nias this year, so we just go over there, have a good time,
Nice.
bring a couple dishes, hang out, and then go home. Yes, we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. That's going to be a lot of fun and should be a good week off. Do a little Black Friday shopping, probably get some new earbuds because they keep disappearing. So,
Todd, if you would just leave them in your ears, you wouldn't lose them.
True. And then, yes. Yeah. So more to come on the earbud front. I'll let everybody know. You'll probably notice it in the video because I'm not wearing cans.
Keep it kept on. I don't mess with it. This is fine. And sometimes if my hair is out of whack, this helps it keep it down. So they serve a lot of different purposes. So
my ears get a little hot when you got these on. So I like a little bit keep my ears fresh and clean.
Hot ears. Yes. Short week here. And then, I got my in-laws over. My kids come over on the day of. And then April and I are doing a new toy show next Saturday. And I have, because, I got my Dragonfly we bought too. I'm going to try to sell the other one. We'll see. It's going for a pretty penny, but hopefully the longer maybe if it doesn't sell, the longer I hold on to it, the more it'll be worth, but we'll see. Don't want to overplay the market.
That would be a good thing to look into prior HasLabs and see what the average, what's the best point to sell it at. Yeah.
That's a good point. But anyway, I got a ton of new, my buddy dropped off more info. So we have tons of inventory. This is a very busy show, so I'm looking forward to it. So that's our Thanksgiving weekend. But enough about that. We got a great show for you here today. A lot of stuff to talk about within the geek world and thinking about Thanksgiving. But as always, we'd love to talk about our Patreons. If you go to patreon.com/secretfriendsunite, there is a host of great bonus content, early shows, ad-free shows, and super cool interviews like the one that Peter, my co-host over on Code 47, and I just did with Adam Nimoy, the son of the late Leonard Nimoy, Mr. Spock himself, who talks extensively about his relationship with his dad and his journey in 12-step recovery. He's a very interesting guy, and it was a very intense chat, and I think that you'll enjoy it. But it is over on the Patreon. If you go there, you get 7 days for free, and then you can stay on board for as little as $2 a month, which is a fraction of that one Starbucks that you buy every week or every day or several times a week. Trust me, it's worth it. As they said in the Blues Brothers, that's a lot of entertainment for $2. These fine folks know what I'm talking about. On our besties level, we have my pal Derek Trevelyan, the figure dude, Francie, my wife's hairdresser, great lady, Xbox expansion pass, friend of the show Luke Lore, and my Uncle Tim. Love you, Uncle Tim. Friends with benefits level, John Sedorf, cool guy. The Phoenix Sisters Entertainment, Kelly and Crayley, great ladies that we work with all the time. Brendan Myers, Corey and HD, Matthew Keel, and my buddy Kurt Krug, who helps me out a lot with meeting a lot of these celebs and helping us get the interview. So he's a super great guy. The top tier, saving the best for last over on our Secret Friends Super Squad, the Nias family, Sean, Stella, and Henry. Very grateful for all that you guys do for us. Again, secretfriends.com, over at Patreon, I should say patreon.com/secretfriendsunite, free 7 days, and then a trial after that. We will see you there. Wow, it's the 90s all over again. Now, as you know, we had a cover of an issue 500 last week because we couldn't do it. We could have done a 0. Maybe when we get to 600, we'll do a 0 issue. That'd be pretty cool. But we're back to the single digits now. So this is a #1 issue from Image Comics. Oh, the 90s. April of 93. You were graduating high school. I had a year to go. Blood Strike from this is the Blood Brothers preview. So this is issue 1. And it really does just look like the X-Men. I assume that was the hook to get people to buy it, right? They're like, oh, look at this new X-Men title, right?
Well, as you know, most of the Image creators were Marvel comic guys. I don't think there were really anybody that had anything to do with DC. So you had Rob Liefeld. He had an imprint at Marvel, just like there was Spawn. Todd McFarlane had his own. Mark Silvestri Jim Lee. They all had their own imprint.
Right.
Well, with Rob Liefeld, he went heavy on teams. He started off with Youngblood, then made another comic called Brigade, and then he made this other one called Bloodstrike. So Bloodstrike was, basically it's like an X-Force. There's the main guy looks just like Cable. There's a guy looks like Wolverine. They're pretty much just like, he put images first versus the story. And the fun part about this comic, Charlie, it was a gimmick cover, and it's pretty amazing because the blood was raised and the type of paint they used was was heat sensitive. So if you rubbed the blood, it actually changed color.
Wow.
So
like
Bloodstrike,
the other side of Scratch and Sniff.
It's like hypercolor, Or remember the Transformers logos at one time? It was Pretenders, where you'd rub the Transformer logo to heat up to see if it was a Decepticon or a Transformer. Right. In this case, rubbing the blood, it was just like Zartan with his different color changing. It was a gimmick. Absolutely. And it was what is it? What's the price? $2.95. Normally Image was $1.95, so this was definitely $1 premium for rubbing the blood.
Oh, it was and potentially.
And he even says rub the blood at the very top left. I don't know if people got that and understood.
It does. Oh, yes. In the logo, rub the blood, which is not a euphemism for something else.
This may be our first Rob Liefeld cover. It's definitely not his worst. That's for sure.
I don't know. Oh, you should try to slide in one of the Heroes Return covers. He did the Avengers title. So maybe Captain Motorboat.
Reborn?
Yeah, Reborn, exactly. Yeah, when all big groups got pulled out and they were out of the Onslaught deal.
Oh, yeah, I remember those. They were absolutely cromulent.
Perfectly cromulent. Well, speaking of someone who would use the word cromulent, that would be our senior news correspondent, Madam Webb. She's with us, about to celebrate a 100. Didn't we talk about this last time? What's 125?
No one knows. She's not that yet. She's not there yet, Charlie. We'll talk about it when she is.
Jan 1, 125. But right now, she's very spry, down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, with the latest news and scoops waiting for us. Let's go.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. It's that time of the year where you just show up at random people's houses, tell them you're like their ancient aunt Twiggy or Millie or Biddy, and your track record's pretty good. You probably get like 1 out of every 4 houses just feel sad, and then for those other 3, you're getting maced, they sick the dogs, or
push her right off the porch. Yeah,
exactly. So you know what? Hey, keep trying. If it's worth that free meal and maybe future gifts on their mailing lists, go right for it.
Thanksgiving crashers. I love it. Well, everybody who's not weird loves Daniel Craig. I don't know. Is that a weird way to say it? But it looks like he's jumping on board the gunship. I'm not even going to call it the gun train. It's the gunship.
There you go. I like the gunship. That's good. The gun show.
The gun show. Daniel Craig's DC Universe as a character that we discussed during October over on the Patreon during a spinner rack. Sergeant Rock. We did a Sergeant Rock versus zombie Nazis tale that you should absolutely check out once you're over at our Patreon. But yeah, he's not been James Bond for a few years now, and the franchise is kind of in limbo. I don't hear anything about what's next with James Bond.
New one coming. They're basically tracking to a 30-year-old male. They have not said that the race matters, but I assume he's got to be British because that would be like, that would be like they ask like casting an American as Doctor Who. That's not happening.
They're not giving Americans those jobs. Yeah.
And Barbara Broccoli, I think she's still the person who gets to choose, but Amazon's behind James Bond and MGM now.
Oh, very good. Well, yeah, I do feel like we talked about that long ago. But anyway, yeah, Sergeant Rock is the DC version of Nick Fury in a lot of ways. So Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos, World War II, punching ratsies. ratsies fighting them. But yeah, this could be, according to a story from Deadline, no deals have been put in place, so nothing is firm. But it is what we call it's a strong rumor if Deadline's talking about it. So he'd be a great fit. Sergeant Rock was, and again, Brits take our jobs, but it doesn't really tend to go the other way. Because we're very easy to imitate, and they have all the best actors in the world, usually, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I think a lot of people would lean in that direction.
They're definitely cast into more like Shakespearean parts, just because it's expected that you have to be British to do that. But I mean, it's. Hey, we've got good actors, Charlie. Let's not shame ourselves. We do know that more Canadians sneak and steal a lot of things, just because people don't know that they're actually Canadian.
Right. Yeah. Because the accent is disguisable. People have accused me of having a bit of Canadian accent myself, being from Detroit. So I don't know, but people don't accuse Brits of picking up an American accent here and there, but they certainly can ape it pretty well. Yeah, I think they'd be great. I'm a big fan of his. Knives Out. Was he in one of those Agatha Christie recent films? Wasn't he in one of those? Am I remembering?
No, that's Kenneth Branagh. He plays Hercule. Yes.
Yeah. So what are some other stuff that Craig has been in?
He's got a new movie coming out with the director that's tied to this, and he's going to be playing a queer man, which is fairly interesting casting with him. That's good. And then he's done some like independent films. He did one that Lucky Logan with
he did that
Channing Tatum, I think.
The Dragon Tattoo one, which I watched recently.
I never saw those. I've heard mixed things about them compared to the books.
The one, and again, it was a trilogy. We watched the first one. They're pretty intense. There's a lot of
very Scandinavian,
kind of tough material to watch in there about sexual abuse and stuff like that. It's a little iffy, really not for people who are sensitive to things like that. So, but yeah, this would be great. So no news on this. If something did materialize, you're looking 2-3 years down the road anyway. So, yeah, I'm totally on board. I'd love to see Sergeant Rock. I'm excited for DC. Again, I've always been a Marvel guy. I dip my toe very cautiously in with things related to DC because, it's a more truer version of the way people try to pit Star Wars and Star Trek against each other, which doesn't work for me. But Marvel and DC are essentially two comic companies with characters that are in a lot of ways trying to do the same thing. So I think...
Yeah, I mean, Stan the Man Lee watched DC for all those years, and he said, I can do it. I can make it more compelling and modern.
Right.
And then they've taken notes from each other over time. So, but I would say one is not better than the other because ultimately look how Marvel struggled to even take their characters on the screen and make them decent too. So it's like, if they were that much better, wouldn't they be that much easier to adapt? And you'd say that versus like, it
would have happened 30 years earlier. And DC had their time in the sun, Chris Reeve Superman, the Batman 66 was fun. Wonder Woman TV show was fun.
The Dark Knight. You go back and forth, and now the Penguin's on fire, and it's probably the number one comic book show. Some people would say it's probably the best comic book show that's ever been adapted to. So, and at this point, a lot of people would say, no, actually, Marvel and DC aren't that relevant anymore. They're kind of just treading their same water, and some of these new books and new creators are doing much better things. So, maybe we're the old ones, Charlie. Maybe it is us who are old. Maybe the children are wrong.
Yes. Oh, wait, that was my quote from last week. So you might have to, you're going to have to switch the word bubbles on our.
It may be. Yeah. So I'm really curious to see if this got the go ahead. James Gunn said scripts will lead. He says if script's not good, it's not moving forward. He doesn't care if I love the character. He says, good scripts, good writing. That's always first. So if this has, working with Daniel Craig, he wouldn't pick a comic book film after being James Bond for all those years unless he saw something good. And we don't really have a war comic book film. We had Cap, but he's a super soldier and he's taking on weird old Nazis. So I will be curious what they do with it. If this is more about like the history of DC through the eyes of like Sergeant Rock in old times, where maybe Superman did kind of exist in those old times, that would be kind of fun because that's kind of what he did. He did show up. So maybe there's some history and lineage with DC linking the two together, and maybe that's how Rock gets involved. Because we did touch on that last book we touched on. Yeah. Rock at the end was basically asked to kind of get in charge of a weird
Right.
paranormal, supernatural division of that area. So maybe that could be fun. I don't know.
Yeah, they can go in that direction. It'd be cool. But we will find out as we find out over time. So moving along, the whole kind of we've had with the licenses expiring, we now have Steamboat Willie in production. We've had the Winnie the Pooh, the 2 films. There's Bambi, which was a trailer we talked about a number of months ago.
Peter Pan, I think, is getting one.
Oh my God. And I feel like we talked about this one before, but now we have a trailer for the gruesome, gritty horror version of Popeye as Popeye the Slayer Man. And wow, 1 minute and 50 seconds of red band, blood splattering, scalp tearing, head squishing, head stomping, goodness, if you will. But yeah, so this is clearly a low budget deal. Who's the production company? Are we even getting?
That's a good question. Let me look here. Basically, there's actually going to be 2 Popeye horror films, which is great. So this is the first one out of the gate. We're there.
Here we go. We've got, talk about Salem House Films, Millman Productions, Ron Lee Productions, and Otsego Media. Is that from Otsego, Michigan? That's down Kalamazoo. Interesting.
Sure. The Michigan Film Bureau is hot on the hot films.
Yes. But yeah, this is like you and I were talking about the pre-roll. They tilt right in. They're not saying anything sophisticated or interesting. They're just saying, you know what? We have this hideous mutant. He just has a thirst for violence and carnage. These kids come around. Not kids, young adults. And he's just going to wholesale murder all of them. 100% guaranteed this was filmed in Canada. I don't know. I just have a feeling. This seems like a low budget, filmed in BC kind of deal. That's the vibe I got.
I get the feel that this was just done after dark, wherever they were at, because they didn't want to pay for like plane tickets or movie or food vouchers. So we're doing this in Cleveland after dark.
Right.
Everything will be at night, and then you can go by the lake because there'll be an opportunity for some boats.
We'll go down to we'll start at Skyline Chili, and then we'll go do some.
We're going to Cincinnati. Oh my goodness.
Why not?
Cincinnati's Cincinnati's landlocked, so that would not.
No, they have the river. They don't have a lake, but they have isn't the Ohio River flows underneath? I think so.
Maybe,
I don't know.
But yeah,
Louisville's on the other side.
Popeye yearns to be near a great lake, Charlie. He's a sailor. He's a sailor man. Yes.
They probably filmed it in Alpena then.
What I loved about this trailer, it didn't even try to pretend it was anything different. Basically, it's about the spinach factory. They had a recall, so the spinach is what has turned Popeye bad. He continues to eat the spinach. They keep saying, no, he's a sailor man. I'm like, do you have to say man after? He's not just a sailor. Nope, you got to say sailor man. And then one of the great lines of Popeye that he's known for, as he's about to kill one, says, I am what I am. I'm like, you nailed it, Popeye.
It's just like Bart being the I didn't do it boy.
Exactly. Say your line. Say your line. I've been waiting for this all day. The good news, Charlie, is if this one doesn't, pull up your skirt, this other one will, because there's going to be a second film just titled Popeye.
Okay.
And it's by the ITN Studios team, which is behind the Pooniverse. So Popeye will be joining Pinocchio.
Don't say the Pooniverse, Todd. That's not going to work.
Pooverse. Well, it's Pooverse. So there you go. You like Pooverse?
Whatever.
And then basically he'll be part of the universe combining films with Pinocchio, Bambi, and also then Winnie the Pooh. So,
the Dark Avengers, the Sinister Six.
Pretty much, yeah. This is like the Suicide Squad if that ever came together for DC the first time, or whatever. This is more like the Spumco. Is this like the Spumco, Charlie? Like where they bring together the odds and ends? But we'll see. Yeah. I'm a little disappointed. I guess if we get a sequel, we're getting Bluto, we're getting Olive Oyl, we're getting Sweet Pea, we're getting Wimpy, we're getting the Sea Hag.
Think about it like this: it's the hot dog of the licensee filmmaking. They're taking all the scraps, all the parts that you couldn't make into a hamburger, go into these movies.
Yeah, it really makes me sad because I loved Popeye as a kid growing up watching those cartoons with my dad. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed the Robin Williams film.
Oh, yeah.
And Popeye has had like literally no traction
In
since
40 years.
85.
No,
I don't know.
movie came out in 81. Yeah, I mean that's so we're
Okay, yeah,
40 years
yeah.
that anything is
That's a shame.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
Popeye.
yeah, no cartoons or anything. So, yeah, definitely not the way I'd love to see Popeye come back, but who's to say? Maybe this will generate, like you said, a more of a renaissance in Popeye. But speaking of beloved franchises, and one that Todd and I talked about recently and we'll be talking about again in the future for our Patreon is The Simpsons. Oh, who doesn't love The Simpsons? We just had a great conversation with Al Jean, which should be available on our network feed, but has been on our Patreon for several weeks. One of the voices is finally packing it in after 35 years. Pamela Hayden's final episode aired this week. Pamela is responsible for voicing classic characters like Milhouse. And I do believe that Milhouse, I don't think they're going to kill him off, but I believe he is moving away.
What? No!
Kind of removing him.
Everything's coming up Milhouse finally?
I guess. Kind of removing him from the Simpsons verse.
Kurt Van Houten and what's his mom's name?
It's Leanne and Kurt. I don't know that they ever got back together.
Oh, they're going away.
Yeah.
I thought they started dating again. Like it was just like one of those.
I mean, you're definitely more up on that.
Charlie, you promised you'd be watching them. How are you doing on that?
I'm not good. I kind of got sucked down another rabbit hole with Star Trek. But
turn off that Tyler Sheridan. Turn that off. Watch
no, I can't. I was trying to figure out if this article listed the other characters that she voiced because I saw a different article that had that listed. She's Jimbo and Rod.
Jones, Rod,
Jimbo and Rod.
Janie, Malibu, Stacy, and many others.
Okay. Well, I mean, Milhouse is the big hit, because he's Bart's best friend. So that's a tough one, but everybody, nobody in entertainment should have to work until they die from it. You know what I mean? Everybody should, you have to remember that these are people and yes, it's just talking, but I will admit, even tuning into Simpsons in recent years, poor Julie Kavner sounds like she's ready to retire as Marge. Her voice feels like it's changed a lot. I mean, is that just me?
Well, Charlie, she's gotta be 65 years old now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think
tenor changes.
This makes absolute sense. Now that will be a bigger blow to the show, but what show has run for 35 years? This could be a signaling of the end.
When Mel Blanc died, when all these people died, like voice talent, if you live forever, you will have to be replaced.
Right.
It just is one of those things. I think Hank Azaria and Harry Shearer, like you said, Julie Kavner, that seems like such the core.
Right. Well, and of course, Dan Castellaneta is Homer, and
that's right. Yeah.
Nancy Cartwright is Bart. Yardley Smith is Lisa. They've all been, doing, and some younger, some older than youngers, but they're all in their 60s now. I'm sure.
I mean, it's not a bad gig if you can get it, because ultimately, looking at her filmography, she hasn't done anything outside of The Simpsons since like 2004. So obviously, it means she's been well reimbursed, her residuals, all that stuff. So, I mean, that's amazing. And the fact is, I mean, I don't know how many hours she works when she does a season. I've heard voice work can be very challenging, and is it rewarding anymore being in a booth and doing your lines? I don't know, but hey, we'll miss her.
Well, absolutely correct. And we will miss Milhouse. Everything will come up as Milhouse in a different place. All right, this next one's yours since you are the Motu guy. So what's going on with Masters of the Universe?
Charlie, every time I think, the rug will be pulled out from under me with the Masters of the Universe latest property, it seems like it's gaining momentum now, which is just crazy, because we've had some decent casting so far. So far, we've had Nicholas Galatazine as He-Man, Camila Mendez as Tila, and Alison Brie, obviously, from Community, Annie, and many different roles. But now we've got Idris Elba, and he's in talks for a role within this, and it sounds like he might be up for Man-at-Arms.
Nice, yes.
That's a great role for him. Big mustache, weird helmet, orange.
So do you get the feeling, because again, you and I covered Golan and Globus in Canon Films, and they produced the Masters of the Universe film back in 1987 that of course had a young Courtney Cox. It had a young Tom Paris, Robert Duncan McNeil, and of course, as He-Man, the Destroyer himself, not the Destroyer himself, excuse me, Dolph Lundgren, the Russian, yes, the man who must break you. But as you said, that film didn't follow any of the visual cues of the series. It largely took place on Earth because it was cheap.
Yes.
Yeah, Frank Langella is Skeletor. God, I swear I haven't. I get the feeling. Here's a challenge I put back to myself. I get the feeling I haven't ever sat down and watched that entire film, to be perfectly honest.
Even as a kid?
I don't know how. Maybe, but I don't have a recollection.
Kathy Iran wouldn't take you to see He-Man?
It might have just flown
Bad
under the radar.
mom.
We didn't have the I never remember how I told you I never saw Flash Gordon, but it was one that your mom took you to and you loved. I never saw it until 2014.
My mom obviously loved me more than her taste in movies, because she took me to this. She took me to Transformers the movie. She took me to Care Bears movie. So I was like, take me to these movies.
We saw weird little stuff. Like I remember seeing Enemy Mine. Remember that Dennis Quaid movie?
I saw it on video at my aunt's.
I saw
a lot of those on video.
Yeah. But yeah, I saw a lot of you see it because again the 80s was the age of home movies. So yeah, absolutely.
If it didn't come to the Pix Theater one screen, Charlie, it didn't exist in our house until I got to a certain age. Well, my mom took me to that horrible Hercules film too with Lou Ferrigno. So I don't know. And then she took me to Flint for that theater. So you know what? Maybe there was no obstacles. My mom loved me so much she would journey across the universe.
It was chance to get. We had what was at one time considered to be the biggest theater in the country, the Studio 28, which has been torn down here in Little Grand Rapids, Michigan. But anyway, it would be great to think. And again, there were Masters of the Universe cartoons in recent years on Netflix.
Yes,
which I know you love. They didn't really grab me, so I didn't really watch.
Yeah, they've been very good. And I need to finish up the series on part 3 now. I need to finish that up. I've really enjoyed that. The She-Ra series is well loved on Netflix, and this one's coming to Amazon. It's going to be in theaters exclusively, then come to Amazon later. Gotcha. And this is being directed by Travis Knight. He did Bumblebee. He's behind all of the blanking on the name Leica films. You know those, and he's a good director. So this makes me feel a lot better. I am hearing also that Jared Leto might be cast as Skeletor, and I highly endorse that. Because who else could play a crazy skeleton man?
I mean, you know that Skeletor is my favorite in memes, and we don't need to talk much more about that because they're quite raunchy. But it is my number one favorite. So,
and by the way, folks, if you need something to watch, the He-Man holiday special, where Skeletor at one point becomes good and says the line, "I like being bad."
Yeah,
watch it.
Who for He-Man? Is that what they're holding out on? Is that the next big piece of casting they'll give us?
No, they've cast him. He's an unknown, which is perfect.
Oh, he's an unknown. That's good. So yeah, I have enthusiasm too. If they're going to, I feel the same way about G.I. Joe. They actually try to make it from the source material and not go rogue and everybody's in black leather and everything's dark and we filmed it in Cleveland. You know what I mean? So
stick to Echo Force, folks. The real canon.
Right. Exactly. I don't know what that means. Oh my gosh. So more on that when it comes out. So
yes.
What is and again, you and John and I, and then Mark as well, and over on Holocron, talk about what the hell is going on with Star Wars films. We know, because it's in production or nearly completed with production, that a movie starring the Mandalorian and Grogu will come out in 2026. Because
that's the only thing we know is actually happening.
They've actually made it. But a franchise with Daisy Ridley's character of Rey, who is very popular amongst people who enjoyed at least some of the sequel films. We'll call it definitely the first one, a little bit of the second one, definitely not the third one. But found her an enjoyable character. I found her an enjoyable character. Absolutely.
I thought she was great.
Yeah.
I mean, she had no control over, her character had no control over what the hell happened in the plot. Right. I mean, exactly. That was...
But she hung in there, and it would be a very interesting character to look at 10, 15 years down the road because, the idea is she started a new Jedi Academy and then a new threat pops up, yada, yada, yada. Hopefully it's something actually new. It's not just like, and it's Thrawn again, or it's this ancient spirit that was like it was a genie in a bottle Sith, which they've totally done in the comics. But anyway, there was strong talk of them having that happen from the Game of the GOT bros, Benioff and Weiss, and it's on the shelf or in the bin, as they might say in Australia. And that's all we know. We don't know. I don't really know why it's in the bin. A new Jedi origin film coming from James Mangold, who drove Indiana Jones into the ground, is also being discussed. They've never not said what's another one that's never officially been discounted.
Did really Mangold throw it into the ground? I don't know.
I mean, it was his film. The buck stopped with him, right?
I mean, a lot of people. There's some people that liked it. I thought it was better than the previous one. That's all I'll say.
I don't actually know that I agree with that, but that's a matter of protracted discussion. But yeah, Rey's movie is suffering from. It's like Blade. Okay, they finally, put two in the back of the head of Blade because multiple directors, multiple writers came and went, and the star was hanging in there, but they didn't know if they could keep him because he had other obligations, other things he wanted to be in. It's just a huge mess.
Well, I think they need to stop announcing everything. And if there's rumors, great, then we can say there's rumors and we can, they can definitely say, well, we never announced that. You guys have just been like, getting excited over nothing. They just need to stop announcing things, really. And then tell us, when you finally cast, you have a name.
It's rolling.
And then you've got a trailer.
Yeah.
That's fine. And if there's pictures taken, great. If people doesn't know what this thing is, they'll see people and make conjectures anyway. They'll do the Deadpool. They'll post pictures like, I thought blah, blah, blah was going to be in this. And Fin Fang Foom, where was he? He was supposed to be there. I mean, I just feel like all they're doing is Star Wars fans, and Star Trek fans too, but Star Wars fans have a feeling of what they want, what they don't like. Yep. And then sometimes they don't know what they like. When they get it, they like it. And then when they don't get what they want.
Yeah. They really let you know. Yeah.
Exactly. So at this point, with the fact that Rey is supposed to get a new film, nothing more than a film, I think was supposed to be happening about her role in the new Jedi Order. Right. And then we hear about this thing that a Star Wars film that was scheduled for late 2026 was removed. And then we hear about this Simon Kinberg new Skywalker saga being developed. And then so the question becomes, are we going to be dealing with multiple eras again? Are we going to be like, oh, this is the Rey era, but then we're doing something so far in advance? And can Star Wars handle that? Can they handle multiple timelines well?
I mean,
I don't know.
Star Trek, looking at another franchise related to science fiction, science fantasy, did balance that. I mean, within the last 5 years, because Discovery came out in 2017, then we got Lower Decks, which was animated and, it was a comedy. It was set in the post-TNG era. Then you get Picard, which is in the post-TNG era. Discovery then is now taking place in the very far future. Strange New Worlds is set before the original series. So they found a way to balance it. Maybe they made some missteps here and there, but Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds are greatly beloved. Picard, mixed, some good, some bad. Discovery has people who really love it and has people who really don't. So they were doing different things for different audiences and finding success in doing that. Is that a potential for... And Star Wars, in their own way, is trying to do it, but on the small screen. Skeleton Key, The Acolyte, failed, as we've discussed quite a bit. Mando going forward, Kenobi going in the middle, and then building that Mando verse with Boba Fett, not great, Ahsoka, not bad, and then everything kind of building to this movie, and then building to the big Thrawn, what have you. So they're trying, but it's all on TV. It's no talk of the film besides obviously what we know is happening with Mando and Grogu. So it's, I don't know. The question is, has Disney done more harm than good? when it comes
Well,
to
and we know Iger's got a plan to retire in 2 years. Kathleen Kennedy has been there all along since Star Wars is brought in. Is that leadership the right one to carry? I mean, she's not going to stick around for the next 20 years. So is it time for her to basically say, I'm grooming my bad term? Sorry, we can't use that term anymore.
It's understood.
Has she selected the person now that is going to take over her role, which handles all Lucasfilm, not just Star Wars, that will manage all of their properties, their direction, and put the right people in place? Or is she gonna, because she already basically put Dave Filoni in part of like the Star Wars area. So whoever comes up and takes over her role basically has to deal with Dave Filoni. And there's sometimes within like those individual studios or imprints or whatever, you get fiefdoms, right? You get like, I control this and this is my thing, and don't listen to so-and-so, I've got this. And I'll be curious if they agree with the vision. Maybe you get a younger person who's like, I love Star Wars, it's my favorite thing in the world, and I love this, so let's focus on that, Dave Filoni. Mr. Baloney Pants.
Baloney Filoni. So
so we'll see.
It's a never-ending odyssey, without a doubt. But we will find out.
This is what happens when you only have like a TV show that you know of, and then nothing else is happening, and you get all this news. It's like Star Wars, if you just made something, we'd actually be able to watch it and then judge it versus complain and argue about things that aren't even happening.
Exactly correct. All right, well, that is it for the news. Todd, I've got my phone out, my feeble Uber app, my Fuber app. We've got to get down to the Geekies, and we missed it last week. So I'm not even 100% sure that it's still there. That could have been the week the health department finally closed it down. But if we're lucky, we'll get up there. I see the cab pulling up now. We're getting in. It stinks to high hell.
I'm actually already here, Charlie, if you didn't see behind me.
Oh, you did?
I'm just waiting for you to show up, yeah.
Okay, well, first and foremost, I get in the cab and the AM radio is playing, and I hear this trusty advertisement.
Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SFU1. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
I'm sitting in the Geeky, been here waiting for Charlie. He finally showed up. Drinks are poured. The karaoke band is playing, and they're singing my favorite tune, which is "What You Been Watching." There you go. Here we go.
Oh, man. Oh,
yes. So went to see Red One. This was part of my wife's birthday weekend. She wanted to see this movie because she loves cool, like, interpretations of the holiday movies. So Red One. It's an Amazon film that went straight to theaters. This is The Rock, Chris Evans, Lucy Liu, J.K. Simmons as Santa Claus. And this movie is was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like lame based on the trailers.
Yeah.
Really panned out. Really performed really well. We enjoyed it quite a bit. There's some standout parts of this movie that were great that I really enjoyed. Good update on kind of like a holiday message, and it came together. I was worried. Chris Evans is great. Loved his character. And it went places that I didn't think it would, and it was really covering beyond just Santa Claus. It was kind of covering mythical creatures and that type of world.
Right.
So
yes.
it was very cool.
Well, from the trailer, you had the iceberg snowman and all this different stuff.
Yeah.
So, to look at the trailer, I thought, well, because especially because of Chris Evans and really the Rock in general, I thought, well, this looks like it should be a Netflix thing. It doesn't really look like that scale of a film. But they really knocked it out of the park. Huh? Well, that's good to know.
A huge budget too. They spent like $250 million. So I mean,
oh boy,
it's Amazon. Okay. It's Amazon, so they got a lot of money. And I think part of it is they're like, hey, regardless of how well it does in the theaters, this will come to Prime. They have licensing and merch and things like that for it, and it will get play over the holidays. Gotcha. So a movie like this probably will stick around through Thanksgiving and into Christmas. So yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was fun, had a good heart. The Rock actually acted in this, Charlie, which was surprising.
Somebody gave him the acting. Was that his Christmas present?
I think it was. Yeah, actually show some emotion, Rock, and not just be the Rock. Yeah, so I thought very, very fun movie. Really enjoyed it. Special effects are great. Some of the creature work was great too. So really cool. Fun. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, I was great because I was worried. I'm like, ooh, I think we've seen all the good parts. So
right.
It's
interesting you should mention the budget. I sound like my mother. It's interesting that, but you mentioned $250 million. The next movie that we're going to talk about also had a budget of $250, somewhat underperformed. But the movie that
I thought it was lower than that.
But the budget, I thought
it was like $150 million.
It might be. I think the budget for the last film that I'm going to talk about was
$310 million. Even worse.
Oh yeah. So, but anyway, we're going to segue into talking about Gladiator 2, the first half of Glicked. I'll talk about the last half in my segment, but we went on Thursday, but on Wednesday we watched the first one because I had not seen that. I was messaging you when I was watching it. I bet I hadn't seen that since it came out, which was in the year 2000 or maybe shortly thereafter.
I had not either. So I watched a 5-minute YouTube recap and I'm like,
there you go.
Yes.
That gives you all the talk. And I did, the Weekly Planet, which, I listened to. They had a caravan of garbage about the movie that helped get me interested. I love how they call him Rusty Crow. So now I just call him Rusty Crow. But yeah, I enjoyed the first one. I can't stop laughing when they kept making fun of him for I'm going home to touch wheat. So I kept saying touch wheat and giggling like an idiot. What'd you think?
I really enjoyed this film.
Yeah, me too.
I know what this film is. And at times I completely forgot that this was actually based on real people. Like these people were actual real. It's not like it's like just we're making a Gladiator film and these are not real characters from history. So it's really kind of cool that Rome was such a wild and crazy place.
So crazy. Yeah,
that
absolutely.
This could really inspire things that are kind of close to what happens. Yes, I know there were pieces that were made up. They embellished things.
You got to.
And Denzel Washington's character Macronus, he's white in like historically, but he's like
Macronus is such what a name. It sounds so villainous.
And he was real. I mean, and he did some bad things to become to power, and he was only in power for like only a year in reality. With this one, they obviously sped up the calendar on that and said, and that's where I thought this film, everything happened so quickly that I'm like, wow, this is going along at a clip. So I'm enjoying it. I'm liking the acting. I'm liking the action. Some of the set pieces, because when I heard they did it for $165 million, I'm like, how did they do this for $165 million?
They didn't.
There are ships on water. I'm assuming the Rhino was CG. If it wasn't CG,
how could it not be?
I mean, it's got to be. But I mean, the movie looked expensive. It looked real. I mean, as much as you could make it real.
Right. And they were, now we're going back and forth on the budget. Was it? Yeah, it was really quite
Well, that's
high.
what they're saying now is projected to be that, and then it's now 300. So, so that I'm like, yep, sure. But $300 million movies, you don't make those because it's very hard to make your money back.
Yeah.
But in a lot of ways, that's okay because I don't have to pay for it.
Right, very true. And I paid my part because we went and saw the movie, and really swept up. We did have some returning characters or actors as characters, excuse me, reprising their roles. Connie Nielsen is the mother character. Is she in anything else at all? Because I can't picture her in any other movie besides the first one.
I couldn't tell, but she looks amazing.
Oh, absolutely. There's a woman who is aged like wine. Not that we should judge women on the way they look.
No. But when I look at her, I'm like, wow, she is born in 65.
Okay.
She's Hippolyta in the Wonder Woman films. So she's Queen of the Amazon. So we've seen her.
Right.
Her first film was in 84. Kind of crazy. And she's been in several things. I mean,
she works. That's good.
Yeah, she works. She's been in a bunch of different things throughout the years. So definitely a good mix of TV and movies.
Yeah.
And I mean, give it to her. I mean, I liked how they interwove the our main character into the mythology. Worked really well. And I liked how at this point it's amazing that I'm blanking on his name, the Mandalorian.
Pedro Pascal. I know that happened to me in an episode that I struggled with someone's name. I never got it. It happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that he is attached to so many things.
He's Samuel L. Jackson of this generation. He's in,
and it's his versatility is amazing. And quite honestly, at first you think, oh God, he's just going to be, I'm like, don't kill him, and I'm like, how are they going to thread the needle on some of these things? So they did a good job with that. I thought it all came together, and man, oh man, Denzel Washington, twirling his mustache was amazing. The Frico Emperors, were
the
amazing.
Emperor brothers, one of them was so crazy. He had a monkey, and the other one gets, I don't know, are we going spoilery here? We probably shouldn't.
No.
Okay, just the fate of the other one was quite
well, it's history books, folks. Look it up. If you want to know what happened, read the history books because there's no spoilers there.
Yeah, exactly. But I think they nailed it. And again, we've talked ad nauseum about legacy sequels, and it's always, did we need this? Did anybody ask for this? Nobody really asks for a legacy sequel. You don't look at a movie from 30 years ago and saying, oh God, if they would only. And the success rate is probably less than 50%, but we've seen some good ones in the last few years. Obviously, Top Gun Maverick was really great. I thought this was a success. Name me another one. I'm drawing a blank. Name me a couple of other legacy sequels we've seen in the last 5 years. Help me out.
There's been some others, but yes. I mean, some people do like the new Ghostbuster films with Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Others don't. So, I mean, it can be a mixed bag at time, depending on where you stand. But so far so good. I mean, I'm glad there are some parts where I'm like, it felt a little too easy. Like everything was just coming together. And maybe this would have been a better, Game of Thrones type of long pace, but then I'm like, do I really want 8 hours of this? I don't know. And could they even afford it?
Well, apparently not. Because again, this movie at a budget of, we'll just say 250 is tracking about 55. I looked at the headline before I jumped in.
It's a hard sell. It's very violent. It's not like Oppenheimer, where at least you can sell it's historical, it's realistic, and it's something that you feel like is a movie of the year. This feels like an entertaining Gladiator film. So beyond that, it's not supposed to be Oppenheimer Part 2.
Right.
So the Glicked thing, people can want it like they want Fetch to happen. Yeah. It's not a thing.
Very true. So I will talk a little bit about Glicked, the other half of it, at the end of my segment. But Todd, knowing how you're loving Taylor Sheridan, he's got a new show. He also has a returning show, which was The Lioness, that I thought was never going to come back. And the second season is not really measuring up. The first season was terrific. Second season, I'm kind of ignoring my way through it. I don't know that April's really into it, but it's one of our Sunday shows. It comes on. We watch it. But he's got a new show with Billy Bob Thornton. And Billy Bob Thornton for me will always be, Sling Blade was not a thing for me, but Bad Santa was absolutely a thing for me. the role that he established here. He's not quite to the level here, but he is an oil worker, or he's a fixer who works for an oil baron. In a show called Landman, it's set in rural Texas in the oil fields. He has a 17-year-old daughter. He also has an ex-wife played by Allie Larder. And let me tell you something about the Taylor Sheridan legacy on Paramount Plus. It's boobs out. Saw Ellie Larder's boobs in this episode that was just on. Saw the boobs in Lioness last week. They're effing and jeffing their way all the way through it. Basic cable is not streaming is basically like premium cable now. It's HBO. They're doing all kinds of effing.
They don't have FCC involved with them because they're not on TV running commercials like that. And,
exactly.
I did hear that people are not happy on the treatment of his daughter, over-sexualized for a minor, which is kind of gross. And I'm like,
I would agree. I would agree. She's kept her clothes on, but not by much. So, yeah, I agree with you. But, I mean, that's been happening, and it doesn't make it right, but it happens in shows everywhere.
I'll give you a fun fact. Someone I went to high school with at my sister high school, Lapeer East, who I would also attend the classes, she is now a professional costumer.
Oh, good for her.
She works on a lot of these productions. So apparently this was one of them. She's like, yeah, I don't know if I'm proud to say I worked on this show.
Yeah, not with what mother and daughter are wearing. Because Ellie Larder is the ex-wife, but she's heavy into the plot line here as well. The oil baron is John Hamm. And chewing the shit out of the scenery. There's a young, spunky lawyer who's an idiot in this week's episode. She walked up upon a rattlesnake, and while it rattled at her, she said, "What do I do? Should I run away?" And Billy Bob's like, "I would pretty well effing suggest you do." And she still didn't move. And she's supposed to be brilliant, but she looks at a wind turbine, which we have all over Michigan, and said, "What's that?" And he had just so he could explain what it. Who doesn't know what one of those are? Doesn't know what.
Well, I'm getting a feel for like it's more of a Taylor Sheridan writing situation. Yeah. Maybe he's not great at writing women.
I don't know. I'm getting the vibe.
Considering the audience, I'm sure they're perfectly fine with women coming off as being dumb.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunate. Yeah. Even though Zoe Saldana stars in The Lioness, she's the head CIA person, and she's very sharp. So anyway, that is, you kind of take it for what it is. But I'm enjoying it just because I enjoy Billy Bob being Billy Bob. He's bringing a potentially a different sensibility than the other shows. And of course, Yellowstone is raging on, but it's reached its flicker.
Poor Kevin Costner. R.I.P. Death off scene. Death off screen.
He definitely played and lost on his gamble with the what was it, the Horizon saga, half of a saga.
Oh, Charlie, he'll be laughing all his way to the grave.
Oh my God, no kidding. As I've mentioned a couple of times, I mentioned at the top of the show, talked about it on Code 47. Peter and I sat down and talked with Adam Nimoy last week. He is the son of the late Leonard Nimoy, who was, of course, our heritage Spock from the original Star Trek series. And I did receive a copy of his book in advance. I'm a slow reader, but this is the first book I'm probably likely to finish in a very long time because it is riveting. It is not about Star Trek. It is about his life, his extremely challenging relationship with his dad, and his struggles with drug and alcohol, which had led to 20 years of sobriety. And it's about kind of the rise and fall of not only being married and being divorced, which happens to many of us, but also being married a second time and having his wife die of a brain tumor. Which was incredibly harrowing. I'm just about 40 pages from the end of it. It's about a 250-page book, and I'm sucked in, and it has nothing to do with genre life at all. The Star Trek talk is very small. He directed a couple of episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation, which
okay. I couldn't tell you if I knew of his involvement in anything.
Yeah,
like it was an actor.
He was an entertainment lawyer. He directed an episode of Babylon 5. He's done about 45 hours of television directing. But he subsequently became a film professor, and is currently on a book tour. He talked to us from his hotel room in New York City. And I would highly recommend this. It will make you think a lot about some different things in your life. I'll just say. So it's a great read. It's on Kindle. It's obviously in bookstores everywhere. As I said, Adam is on a tour. And if you visit his website, you can find out kind of where he's at. So if he's near you, you can check him out. But yeah, I would highly recommend it.
It's very good.
It was a great read. All right. Back to talking about silly stuff. The other half of Glicked was the first part, and again, I didn't even realize going in, because it's not heavily featured in the marketing, that this was the first part of a 2-part film series. But this was a 2-hour and 35-minute adaptation of the 2003 Broadway musical, which was in turn the adaptation of a 1995 book. I actually did do some research because I was curious about it, of a prequel of a prequel of a, well, it's almost a midquel, because this movie factors right into the Wizard of Oz. It's sourced from that.
It's a prequel because the Wizard hasn't done anything with Dorothy. Yeah, so it's a prequel.
Right, but it's where it starts, and Todd, you'll see this quite quickly. It's contemporaneous with the end of the Wizard of Oz, but then it steps backwards. It's a framing sequence, but the other end of the framing will probably be at the end of part 2.
I wonder if that's done for people. Because I trying to remember how the musical starts. Because I don't know if they do that or not. I couldn't remember.
Probably not. It does really seem like more of a cinematic storytelling device to draw things up, and I get that. But this is starring Ariana Grande, who I think is like a porcelain doll that floats among us mortals. She's amazing, and she's funny and entertaining in this film. And then the female star who is playing Elphaba, who is the Green Witch. I went through this movie thinking it was Jennifer Hudson. I know that's terrible, but she's a British actress who's not appeared in a lot of things over here.
Revo.
There you go. And she and they obviously did all their own singing because they're musicians. And I was enchanted by it. I absolutely loved it. And again, musicals, Todd, I've been in musicals. You're a bigger fan of musicals than I'll ever be. So in my adult life, I'm not thrilled with them, but this really sucked me in. The thing that I was very happy about, it was a packed theater. Getting tickets to even see this movie was challenging. Because theaters are smaller these days, at least our theater at the Celebration Center North here in Grand Rapids, it's half the size because the seats are recliners. So they were 3 shows were sold out on Friday. It was looking pretty tight on Saturday, for Saturday and Friday when I bought the tickets. And the theater was packed, but everybody was very respectful. There was there was no theater kids singing. It was not Rocky Horror Picture Show. Wasn't singing along. It was like seeing any other movie. But yeah, I was absolutely enchanted. They ended at a great hinge point. You can see obviously the steps where they're going to launch into part 2. Part 2 will come out almost to the day 1 year from now. You'll be able to see the conclusion of it. Todd, you're planning to see it this week, probably.
Yes.
So that we can talk about it a little bit more free form on our next episode. But this movie is blowing the doors off, about 117 million domestic, on a budget of only 130 million, I thought I read. So they're doing real good.
Yeah, John Chu, who directed it, did Crazy Rich Asians. He's done some other things, and he was definitely involved in theater. So I've heard some people talk about how he's done a great job of making it feel more like a theatrical performance rather than a movie. Like that old, what was that Oz movie that came out with James...
the Great and Powerful came out about,
which felt like a movie. Right. So this one is definitely playing, and then this is also more of a unique hybrid because this expands the musical based because it's actually incorporating more of the book. So more story points, more pieces there, not just primary. So that's kind of cool. I mean, some people would shrug and say 2 hours and 50 minutes for part 1 might be a little bit daunting, but that's why I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's not impossible to say that they couldn't have cut a little bit here, cut a little bit there. The hinge point where they end part 1 is perfect, and I won't say much more about it because again,
it's kind of what you should expect it to end if you're familiar with the musical, just because that part is essentially the most important part of the whole Wicked mythology, and
the most important song, the one that you've heard theater kids bellowing for the last 20 years. I did look it up.
I don't know. I think with theater kids, Popular is pretty popular too.
Popular is pretty popular. I did read that while the rights to do the play in secondary schools is licensed in countries like Australia, not available in the United States. So there are not high schools doing it, unfortunately.
And it would be so ridiculously expensive to license those rights. I'm guessing
Right.
most high schools couldn't even afford it.
And I'm sure they couldn't do the productions as well. So anyway, it's out there now. It's not hard to find, and I would highly recommend it. So we will have potentially potentially our Thunderdome next week. We'll be talking about Wicked, so that will be fun. But with that is the end of the Geek Easy. We are out of here. Air Qantas app is out. We are headed to the land down under. I've got our tickets. Hologram Tina and the mutants await for us to talk about Thanksgiving.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And this week we're talking about Thanksgiving. It's coming up on Thursday. Hopefully, if you aren't listening on this arrives, it's part of your Thanksgiving traditions. So we're talking about this week, because Thanksgiving is coming. We want to hear about what, we asked a couple people for the, put out there what their Thanksgiving traditions are. And I thought we'd talk about our own Thanksgiving staples, or, things we do around the holidays that might be geek related. I'm sure with Charlie, it's watching some movie for the 85th time. Typically the way it works.
That's everybody but you, Todd.
Yep. I don't know about that, Charlie.
Okay.
Like most of my relatives things, they don't say we're going to watch this movie. We just don't. It's like, it's your thing. That's okay.
Okay. That most people I know, they're like, I watch this every Christmas. It's like watching Hans Gruber fall off Nakatomi. That's the way a lot of people start their Christmas holiday.
Sure. I get like Christmas,
Yeah.
But Thanksgiving there is really no.
You got one movie, and I'll kick this off. I guess I'll jump ahead.
Okay, so
the one movie that I think is Thanksgiving themed that we tend to lump in with our Christmas block is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
True.
That's the one.
Coming home for Thanksgiving. It's all about travel.
The one. And I don't know.
It's
Do you
really
remember the 1991 movie Dutch with Ed O'Neill? Isn't that about Thanksgiving? Or
it is. He's basically transporting the son of his
girlfriend,
the son of his girlfriend, from a boarding school to bring him home. Yeah,
it's Ethan Embry, who later went on to be in That Thing You Do and a lot of other stuff.
Really?
Yeah, it was really him. I know. Yeah, it really kind of blew my mind. So that gets my vote.
Yeah, it is interesting because, there's not a lot of Thanksgiving specific movies. Although, Charlie, we may have a new tradition, which I will probably try to watch it this year, is the horror film Thanksgiving that came out last year.
Oh,
I didn't get to watch it. So I may have to dig in with my with my appetite for something horrific.
Oh, right. Isn't it just carnivorous turkeys or something of that nature?
Yep. And I'm going to actually pull this back one more because there is, I feel like, a Thanksgiving movie that it's Miracle 34th Street, because it's tied into the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. And what is more Thanksgiving in that movie? It's a classic. My wife does love that movie, and we tend to watch that around that time frame as well.
All right.
It's just an amazing film that, quite honestly, does not age badly. I think it's really wonderful. Don't watch the colorized version, though. It's just gross.
Gnarly. Good gnarly. All right, what else we got here? So we talked TV, obviously the big one.
There's a lot of specials.
Yeah, Charlie Brown is the big one that I think I come back to. Access to it is difficult these days because it ended up on Apple, and Apple is not one I usually keep hanging around. I don't know if that's changed. I'd love it if it did. It'd be great if it ended up somewhere else because But again, if you watch terrestrial network TV, I'm sure it's still out there somewhere, or maybe they've gobbled it up entirely. I feel like that was a bone of contention in recent years.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of those things you want to watch, like The Grinch. Oh, I should probably buy that. Oh, where it's playing, or it used to always be on CBS, whenever on. So you know what? Yeah, just buy it in the summer when it's on discount on Blu-ray or whatever, or buy it on any of the services. Just buy it there.
Yeah, we have some holiday stuff stockpiled, and for all I know, I might have finally grabbed that one. So I'll look. I mean, if it's available, I'll definitely love to watch it. The same thing, obviously, with the Charlie Brown Christmas special. But I
like a lot of TV specials for Thanksgiving that are amazing. How I Met Your Mother, they had Slapsgiving, which was very fun. That was amazing. There's a great Bob's Burger episode where he's trying to get his perfect turkey and other the nonsense that happens around the holidays to get that turkey.
Right.
I remember the Friends episode where Monica puts a turkey in her
Oh,
head
absolutely.
and does the
It's-
jiggle wiggle.
It's a meme that everyone enjoys. I'm drawing a blank on what about from more classic shows. I'm sure there's a, I don't want to mention the Cosby Show. I'm sure they had several, but nobody talks about the Cosby Show anymore.
That's a good one. I mean, there's an episode of Frasier where Lilith came to dinner, and that was a little bit awkward and weird.
Yeah.
Christmaka is the
OC.
and it's all
The OC,
Christmas.
right.
Yeah, that's all Christmas, anyways. So there's probably some others, but those are the ones I think of. With Thanksgiving,
Right.
doesn't mean there can't be new ones.
With the latest and greatest. So, you put games on here. You're talking about like gamey games, like the video games or board games.
Oh, like playing games. So that's a big thing. So every other year I come to Michigan to spend Thanksgiving with my aunt, my uncle. We stay at their house.
Yeah.
All of our cousin stuff comes, and typically after dinner we do watch football games football is huge for me, so it does watch. But we always play board games. And different games like apples, it was apples to apples, and different games like that. So it's always fun, just because people are relaxed. Typically people stick around after football or after dinner. They want to do something. So games are always a lot of fun. Board games, social games are easy to do. So I really, really enjoy that.
Yeah, the classic Monopoly with the 4-hour and rage quit. Yeah, it's been a while since I've dabbled in that kind of stuff, but I certainly enjoy it through my time. So, all right, what else we got?
Well, we got food, Charlie. So if you would say, I don't know if there's a special like Cardin Haran like specialty or something that someone always has to bring to the party that makes it feel like home.
It all comes from April's family. So her mother will show up. She makes these rolls that the kids love. So we'll have that's going on. There are things that I don't touch with a 10-foot pole, like a green bean casserole. No, thank you. Jello, like a Jello with the marshmallows in it, or like a kind of a weird like Jello. Like that's a big thing for that family.
Oh, really? I remember that at my grandmother's house. The
only thing that I've really adapted to, and this finds its way, April makes it and takes it to my family's gathering, would be something that is based off of my father-in-law. His brother Larry, Uncle Larry, makes a certain brand of macaroni and cheese. Thus, it's Uncle Larry's mac and cheese. Is incredible. Mac cheese, onions, one of the few things I'll have onions in, bacon, a lot of different terrible stuff for you. Very greasy. We'll go to so we have a family gathering with my dad's family mid-month in December. Uncle Larry's will make an appearance there. Don't think that'll end up at Thanksgiving with so much other stuff. But if I think of a specialty dish, I always am very thankful for Uncle Larry. Uncle Larry's still with us, so not trying to talk about him posthumously, but
he gave up making it.
That dish is what'd you say?
He gave up making it. He no longer makes it.
He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't come to our Thanksgiving, but I'm sure he still does. Family gatherings that happen with that family, they'd moved greater distances apart. So they don't really, and then people have passed away, so less people get together. But Uncle Larry's mac and cheese has endured. So the Cardin family is very fond of it. That's definitely for sure.
Very, very good. For our family, it was my Aunt Barb when we actually used to do back in the day Thanksgiving at my Aunt Loretta's house in Marlette, Michigan. And then we would bring everybody into that house, which we know was 7 and 8 siblings and a billion people.
We had that on my mom's family with my aunt, teacher, my uncle Judd, dearly departed, in Essexville, which is in Bay City. That's where my mom and all her family is from originally. So I remember that, but I was 6 or 7. So it was a very, very long time ago.
Yeah. So everything transitioned to my Aunt Marilyn's house. So we do that, which is great. But my Aunt Barb was famous for her yeasted dinner roll. So that was a thing that always came to the party. I think there are 85 different stuffings, so it was always weird.
So much,
there's
so
one
much
that was
stuffing.
like, know about that one. Sometimes Jello, but pickle plates was a thing. So yeah, why not? Sure.
You know,
I like
you know,
pickles.
You know how I feel about pickles, so that's not for me.
Charlie, anything from the vegetable category is like, what is that? Get that away from me. Do not like it.
I only eat chicken Caesar salad when I'm out and about. I love salad. I just
Chicken Caesar salad has like 1% salad, and everything else is chicken and everything else.
Not at Panera.
There's a little bit of lettuce in that thing.
Definitely skimp on the chicken over there at Panera. But anyway,
lettuce is like the Diet Coke of vegetables. It's hardly there. It's hardly
Diet
there.
Coke,
it's mostly water.
The pickles can be the Diet Coke because those are two things I can't stand.
But a big part of our Thanksgiving, my aunts and my wife's picked it up, was cranberry sauce. And my wife makes a cranberry compote now, which is wonderful. It's got like red wine in it. You bring it down, cherries and all these things. It's wonderful. You put it on everything at Thanksgiving. It's wonderful. So I would say the cranberry sauce and then all the pies. Pies was a big part of my family. My mom, my aunts. Yep, they love it. So this year I'm going to try to make something new as we get hosted. I will be making a sweet potato casserole for the first time. So I'm going to give that one a try. And Chris will be making some gluten-free offerings to bring along. So that's our thing.
Nice. Very good. Very good. All right. What else we got?
Yeah, so we got some comments from our own Discord and friends from other Discords along the way. Our SFU Discord, AMH Cosplay says, no real Thanksgiving traditions, to be honest, other than complaining how the stores skip Thanksgiving and go from Halloween to Christmas. Yeah, you know what, though?
That's where we're at.
What are you going to do for Thanksgiving? You just turn the pumpkin, like jack-o'-lantern around, you got a pumpkin. Leaves. I mean, it's not really much. You can't do pilgrims anymore. So what are you even doing?
Oh,
pumpkin pie on a wall?
That's not happening. Oh my God.
No. Yeah. So Thanksgiving get what they get. Thanksgiving gets, basically 3 days. The food, the cooking of the food, the eating the food, and then Black Friday. That's Thanksgiving. That's all they get.
That's all we get.
Yeah. XCP Discord, Falcon Guy says, one tradition that I have that cannot control, taking a nap after eating, LOL. It sounds like something you and Charlie would have in common.
You know what? It's power napping. I should have been in the military. I understand that's a skill.
Probably,
there.
It does. It does help. Red B says, used to be deliberating with family about the doorbusters on Black Friday. Break out the newspaper and find all the good deals. Yeah, it was great. Then it evolved to hitting multiple stores at 5 a.m. when they open, then eventually midnight. Now it's just perusing the deals in October for November deals. Oh, the good old days. Fun fact, my Aunt Marilyn, my cousin Beth, and her kids, they still do the Black Friday thing.
Yeah, we did that in Traverse City because we would go and spend the weekend up at my in-laws who live in Kalkaska for several years. When my brother-in-law Rob was up there, we would take his kids. JCPenney's was always the best one. I got some great stuff at JCPenney that we still have. Vests and luggage is a really good one for JCPenney.
Wow, the magic of Thanksgiving. Vests and luggage.
Vests and luggage. Put it on my tombstone.
Wow, how do you say you're a boomer when you're a boomer?
Yeah, right.
Vests and luggage.
Yeah, vests and luggage and retail. Going to a brick and mortar big box retail.
If I could just get that toaster. Oh my goodness. God. The Nerd Chat, our friends over there, Daddy Diwali says, watching football and gaming afterwards. And he's probably more traditional gaming. So there you go. Yes. And then Eric used to go to the movies on Christmas Day each year, but stopped once I had kids. The first year of Dad Christmas, a friend gifted me a hard root beer, and I just sipped on that while watching a movie on Netflix on Christmas Eve. Done that every year since. So that's a Christmas tradition. That's good. Hey, that works.
Roaring fireplace will probably get that going. I haven't fired up the old fireplace yet this season, but it's something I enjoy very much.
Yep. So, folks, we're throwing something else in the mix. We've done Mount Rushmores before, and I think this one is appropriate. So it's the Mount Rushmore of Thanksgiving. By all means, we've got 4 presidents, but what goes up for Mount Rushmore of Thanksgiving doesn't have to be a person. It can be a movie, a food, a TV show. Could be an actor if there's someone you really think personifies exactly, or a character within a movie or something like that. So
I mean, that's an easy one. I can get.
Okay, Charlie. So are we going to go through the presidents here? We got 4.
Yeah, we got 4.
So Teddy Roosevelt. Who's the Teddy Roosevelt of Thanksgiving?
I'm going to say that would be Monica with the turkey on her head.
Oh, if you're
from
gonna have a
Friends.
person,
I'm thinking of a person in that case.
I like it. It's sexy.
Yeah.
It's kind of gross because it's a raw turkey.
It's sleek and it's modern. I don't want to think it's you putting your head actually right inside it, but yeah, I think
salmonella for Thanksgiving.
I think for our generation, if you think about it related to media, I think that's an image that comes up.
And it really became the heart of the Friendsgiving, right? So folks who aren't necessarily around their family, like I'm not near my family, I'm going to the Niases who've become like family to us because they're friends. So Friendsgiving has become a thing. So friends, it makes sense. Yeah, I like that.
Which they invented, yeah.
And man, I'll tell you, the drama when you're with friends is very low. It's not family sitting around the table and how about the politics, Jim?
Oh my God. I don't think it's going to come up with my in-laws because it usually doesn't. But I know it happened when April will go up and visit when I'm not there before the election. I know it came up and April came back very disgusted. I can just tell you that much. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had that with my sister. My sister is a little bit more on the liberal side than I am. And I know that was like the Hillary election. And it was like, I'm like, yeah, people just weren't ready to vote for a woman. And it just became a very,
and apparently
so at that point, I'm like, I totally get it. So this year, hopefully it's more cool and everybody's fine. And if you see any signs that are out there for certain candidates, don't tell them to take them down unless you want to get shot.
My neighbor still has theirs up, but they're kind of hillbillies and don't do really good keeping because they still have their Halloween decorations out. And they haven't mowed their yard in 6 months, so that's okay.
So we can have two, Charlie. Just then, if we want to combine the two, then we can. If not, then we don't worry about it. So for my Mount Rushmore of Thanksgiving, if we're going for like something that personifies that. That's a good one. I'll agree with Monica. Why not?
That or the Charlie Brown.
I know you're not a huge fan of the
Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, but yeah.
I mean, Snoopy making popcorn. That's all I could think of.
And they sat poor Franklin on the side by himself. That was not cool. I know. There's no
division in America.
Yeah, exactly. In the 60s, yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, who would be our Thomas Jefferson? So should we go to I'll start with this one. So Charlie, I think because food is really important for Thanksgiving. And one of those foods that just rarely ever else gets brought up in another holiday, it's dressing / stuffing. I think it deserves to be there. Some people actually don't like stuffing because they don't want to put in the bird because they think that's disgusting. So dressing is the outside. But I think that feels like a food that who's having stuffing or dressing in like July?
It's, April did it when she was making lunch today. She cut up all the bread for the stuffing. So that's sitting in a sealed tub up in the kitchen. So it's already going on. So you're absolutely right. Stuffing is a very Thanksgiving specific. Do not see it at any other time or any place. So without a doubt.
Okay. So we're going to go with, so we've got, I guess that would be Thomas Jefferson would be the food. Mm-hmm. So we go to Abraham Lincoln, Charlie.
Abraham Lincoln.
So this would be I guess it would be a prominent president, although short-lived, revered probably by everybody, I think. Does anybody not like Abraham Lincoln?
The guy who shot him didn't like him too much.
Sure. Yeah. I guess that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah. Maybe you liked him too much. No one can have you if I can't have you, Mary Todd. Give me this man.
Should have shot her.
Exactly.
Better.
So at this point, if we're going food, movies, TV, games, what do you think? Let's go with a movie. Abraham Lincoln seems like a staple. Wait, let's go broader. Event. Because we could have football.
Macy's Day Parade, because it's...
There you go. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, where else do you watch parades? Does anyone watch the Christmas parade?
No, around the 4th of July, there's, maybe the fireworks in New York Harbor, but people don't really necessarily tune in for that. People are outside because it's the summer and you're doing summer stuff, hanging out with friends, getting drunk, blowing your fingers off, whatever it is. Macy's Day Parade, that has been around since the 40s, maybe going further back than that, I'm assuming it's along Broadway in New York. Would have to look it up, but along, obviously, Macy's. We had a big one here in Detroit when there was Hudson's way back in the day. So that's the Michigan version of it was that. But without a doubt.
Yeah, I think that works out well. So if we said something that had to be the Macy's Day Parade, like icon, would it be like turkey that
Santa.
the old mechanical
Probably Santa or
Santa sleigh, because they have that old turkey that's still like from 1952 that they keep bringing out every year.
Yeah, until it fires off a spring.
Yeah.
I think Santa, because Santa wraps up
Santa on a sleigh.
Yeah.
So wait, is that just Santa just eating up Thanksgiving again? As we talked about.
Well, it's all about market share, isn't it? You know, and he's got he gets to crawl his way back to.
I
to
guess that
Halloween.
incorporates Miracle on 34th Street too. So
Yeah.
hey, sure, I'll give it. Macy's Day Parade. With the picture of Santa.
Thanksgiving just doesn't have an icon. Tom Turkey, who gives a shit about that? It's Santa. He's the guy.
He's doing a bad job if he's the icon, because he's like, eat my people. It's not like,
oh, I'm an icon for cannibalism. Yes, do it.
Or like, free my people. And like, well, we remember this day when he was assassinated by Farmer Pete.
Yeah, he wouldn't have a holiday if he assassinated him. So yeah, that just would not work.
Yep. Okay, so we'll do stuffing, Macy's Day Parade, Monica with the turkey on her head. So that counts.
Yes.
That accounts for a turkey.
That accounts for a turkey.
Okay. So Charlie, last one. So we've got George Washington, the first president. I know you will not like this, but I'm saying it's football. Because
I don't dislike football. I end up watching football on Thanksgiving. It's a solid...
Should we just make it John Madden? Because he is like his many-legged turkeys. Should we just make it the ghost of John Madden?
Well, is he dead? When did he die?
Yeah, he's been gone for many, many years.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I guess
the splits Force Awakens John Madden.
Oh, you could have your Force Ghost of Halloween, and one of them would be Tina, who's here with us now.
I like that.
Yeah,
Force Ghost John Madden.
That's an interesting spelling of ghost. I hope you don't put that.
A ghost.
Hope you don't put that in the show notes.
It's the German spelling, Charlie.
Yes,
sorry.
there you go.
I'm fancy. So we had. What was the first thing we picked?
It was Monica.
Turkey.
Monica and the turkey.
Monica turkey. Okay, I like this.
Yeah,
I think this was good picks.
I think so. This was, you know what, Todd, you do come out. Execution can sometimes be a little dubious, but on the idea side, I think you bring it together. So this was not something I would have considered. So not bad. I like it. We'll
bring it back for Christmas. I don't think we've done a Christmas one, have we? We did like the Supreme Court of the Marvel
we did.
comics. We did that one.
Yeah.
Didn't we pick? And then didn't we do like cabinet members too?
Yes. Yeah. I don't. You know what? We do these so infrequently. It's like every 2 or 3 years.
It's back there. So yeah. We can always bring it back and just do like a new Supreme Court because we're electing it, or new cabinet members because we're bringing it back. We will redo that again. Because we're gonna have new cabinet members. So we do that every 4 years. How about that? That's our every 4 years.
The cabinet. You better put that in the master show schedule. Then,
I'll put that in there.
Forget about it.
Yeah, cabinet. I'll put the cabinet election. I'll put notes down here. Cabinet election 2025, and then we'll do Christmas Mount Rushmore as well. There you go. That's fun. That's how you do it. So, folks, I think that is it for us this episode.
Oh, my God. That's a wrap, folks. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Have an absolutely fantastic Thanksgiving. Todd, where do people find you out there?
Yeah, you can follow me at Toxtra. And at Seek Friends Unite on Threads, and at Todd Oxtra on Blue Sky, and then at Seek Friends Unite on Blue Sky as well. We're there. Twitter is just out there if you want to reference, if you're still there, to find us.
I think less and less people are there. Well, I've achieved the triumvirate on Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram. I am at the C3, TheCeeThree, where I'm out there having a good time, wanting to talk about Star Trek, trying to engage, looking for people to join us over on Code 47. Peter and I were just talking about it today. We would love to have a cool new voice to jump in and talk Star Trek with us a little bit. So hit me up on any of those spots. We would absolutely love it. You were going to
remind me after we get done.
Okay, very good. But with that, and again, the Secret Friends Unite Discord, you've heard some people quoted from it recently. That's the best place to have geek discussions with us. We love talking about absolutely everything in the world of nerd. I also run a Trek Discord called the United Trekkers of Michigan. Just a fun, friendly place to talk about what's going on in the Trek world. And with that, friends, thank you one more time for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In the truck, gobble, gobble.
I am what I am.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member. Get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.